Hi, it's TK with the weekly words of encouragement. I vividly remember that day in December 2004. I walked out of the courtroom, my feet heavy with grief, as the reality of what had just happened hit me. With the stroke of a judge's pen, my 6-year marriage was officially over. I was now a divorcee, and in my mind, this meant I was a failure. I had failed at marriage, and I had also failed at parenting because now my son would grow up in what's called a broken home. These feelings of failure followed me for years, causing me to believe I wasn't worthy of being loved. Now, don't get me wrong. I knew in my heart I was valuable to God because He created me in His image. But I didn't think another man would find me worthy of loving. Like the Father recorded in Mark chapter 9, I found myself asking God to help my unbelief. So let's talk about this Father for a minute. We read his story in Mark chapter 9, verses 14 through 29. In these verses, we read about a desperate father who's seeking help for his son from the disciples of Jesus. His son was possessed by an evil spirit that will cause the boy to convulse violently and foam at the mouth, grind his teeth, and it wouldn't let the boy speak. The disciples were unable to cast the evil spirit from the boy, so they brought the boy to Jesus, and Mark records the interaction between Jesus and the boy's father in Mark chapter 9, verses 21 through 24. "How long has this been happening?" Jesus asked the boy's father. He replied, "Since he was a little boy. The spirit often throws him into the fire or into water, trying to kill him. Have mercy on us and help us if you can." "What do you mean, if I can?" Jesus asked. "Anything is possible if a person believes." The father instantly cried out, "I do believe, but help me overcome my unbelief." This man showed faith by approaching Jesus' disciples on behalf of his son. I imagine he felt desperate and was willing to try anything at that point. But there was likely a part of him that wondered if the disciples could really do anything to help, because nothing else had helped up to that point. When Jesus arrives on the scene, the father is still unsure, and you notice this unbelief in his statement, "Help us if you can." Jesus reminds the father, and all of us, that anything is possible if a person believes. I imagine the father had a struggle with logic in that moment. He had likely heard about Jesus healing others, even those possessed by evil spirits, but he still had nagging doubts. He likely wondered if this man Jesus could really help his son. He wanted so much to believe, but those doubts lingered. The resulting statement is so powerful to me because it reflects my own struggles. I do believe, but help me overcome my unbelief. Like this father, I cried out to God to help my unbelief about whether a man could or would love me. While my logical brain concluded that it was possible, in my heart, nagging doubts lingered. As I often do when I'm struggling with doubt, I wrote out my thoughts, and these thoughts turned into very specific prayers for a future spouse. Those prayers were my cry to God to help me overcome my unbelief. Now, in the story of the father, Jesus rebuked the evil spirit, and the spirit left the boy. Similarly, God answered my prayers for a future spouse in the form of my husband, Freddie. And now I have a tangible reminder that anything is possible if a person believes. If you're struggling with unbelief, Dr. Tony Evans offers this advice in his Bible commentary. If you find yourself doubting God, let this man's cry be your prayer. Be honest with God about your doubts and proceed in faith. God will honor your faith and strengthen it in spite of your doubt. I have seen evidence of this in my own life, so I encourage you to cry out to God just like this father did. God hears our prayers, and if you tell him your struggles, and ask him to help your unbelief, he will answer you. I pray this video devotional blessed you, and I will see you next time. Bye.